Hello. It's a beautiful afternoon in central New Hampshire today. It's about 11:30 in the morning. It's really warmed up, but alas, no rain. So today I was going to talk about moving. I know that I keep bringing this up and I haven't really offered an explanation. So it's kind of a long story. It might be broken up into 2 or 3 posts. I don't know how long it'll be, but I only want to speak for about 5 minutes. So originally when Wolf and I moved here 8 years ago, we had only planned on being here for 5 years. We had moved up from the southern part of the state, which is the most populated part of New Hampshire, and we moved out of our house in southern New Hampshire because I was a full-time student and we couldn't keep paying our mortgage and have me in school. I either had to quit school or we had to sell the house, one or the other. And I was all ready to quit school, but Wolf really didn't want me to do that, so we sold the house. It was right when the housing market bubble was about to burst. We bought the house for more than it was worth, but we managed to sell it for more than our mortgage, and not as much as we wanted to get, but we still got more, so we were pretty happy. And we moved up here, and we've been here for 8 years now. So I graduated from school in 2006, and that's when the economy dropped out, and I haven't been able to find a job. I have worked here and there. I've done some temp work. I had one full-time job that paid me $10 an hour, and that didn't really cover the amount of money I was spending in gas and tolls to get to this job, so after a year and a half, I quit. And I wasn't upset about that. It was an exhausting job that was really unhealthy for my mind, my body, and my soul. So we kind of got trapped into this bad economy without me working, and I've been diligently looking for work ever since. Oh, look at that nice little spider. Look at that, making a nest right in one of my or a web, I should say, right in one of Fertle's myrtles. Can you see it right there? So I've been looking for work pretty diligently, and Wolf and I decided that we were going to move back to the Boston area. That's where we both originally come from. And that was a couple of years ago. That would have been about 2010 we would have decided that. And so I started looking for work in Boston. And I found a temp position. It was a part-time temp position. It paid me $12 an hour, but I did that for about 8 months or so. And now it's a 2-hour ride from my house to Boston without any traffic. So when you're talking about the Boston traffic, it was brutal. I was up at 4 in the morning. I was out of the house by 5. I didn't get home until 8 o'clock at night. I ate dinner and went right to bed. That was the end of my day. This was a part-time job. There were plenty of people that I sat on the bus with that did this every day that had full-time jobs. I don't know how they did it. But regardless, then I got laid off from that job. I took another job here in New Hampshire. That was through a different temp agency. My job in Boston was through a temp agency. So I took a different job in New Hampshire with a different temp agency. That lasted 3 days before I got laid off again. And I've just been doing temp work on and off since November of last year. So, needless to say, in all this time we've had our house on the market. And we've had nobody look at it. Well, we've had people look at it, but we've had nobody buy it. There's one of my cats. She's sitting on the pump to the well. So, we had this grandiose idea that we were going to move back down to the Boston area, and it didn't work out. Nobody bought our house. We had a few people look at it. Nothing panned out. We got no offers. I think in the 2 years that we had the house on the market, we had maybe 8 showings. And the last showing that we had was in April of last year. And it snowed that day, and the woman couldn't get up the driveway. And if you can't get up the driveway, you're not going to buy the house. So we took the house off the market at the end of last year, like around November, and we decided we weren't going to put it back on the market this year. Nobody's buying anything in this area, much less a small mobile home, so despite the fact that we had it very reasonably priced, it just wasn't moving. So we decided that we were going to stay here in New Hampshire, which has been all well and great, except for I still can't find work. And at this point, I'm not really even looking. I mean, if the temp agencies that I work for call me, and I work for about 10 different temp agencies, I take whatever they offer, but I'm not actively seeking work like I had been in the past. I had sent out over 1,000 resumes in a year, and most of them went unresponded to. And it's just not really good for the soul, with the self-esteem and the self-confidence. So now we've made the decision to stay here, and then we find out about Northern Pass, and it really puts us in a conundrum, because we don't want to live next to these power lines. We don't want the cancers and the contamination and the eyesore and everything else that's going to go with Northern Pass if it gets put through. So but in good conscience, I can't sell my house to somebody if Northern Pass still has a possibility of coming through, because I don't want them to live with the cancers and the contamination and the eyesore and all the other issues that Northern Pass is going to bring to New Hampshire. I also, if Northern Pass does come through, I'm not going to be able to live here, so I'm going to pay a mortgage on a house that I can't even live in. And I don't know where we're going to move. So everything is really very up in the air. And if you know anything about me, you know how much that drives me crazy. And for the last number of years, our whole life has been in a holding pattern, just waiting for me to find a job, and now waiting to find out what's going on with Northern Pass. As much as I love it here, this is not a good place for us to be, in the sense that our families are still in the Boston area, and it takes us a minimum of 2 hours to get there. Gas is very, very expensive, and it takes a tank of gas to get there and back, and that doesn't even count the tolls that we have to go through. So we want to get closer to our families, we want to get closer to the southern part of the state, but in order to do that, I need to be working a full-time job that pays a living salary. And by a living salary, I mean about $40,000 a year minimum, which is not really a lot of money for this particular area of the country. So everything is just a holding pattern, just hoping that we don't run out of gas and crash into the ground. And it's putting us in a very awkward position, in a very stressful position, because there's a lot of work that I want to do to our land here. Like, I want to clear trees, and I want to plant fruit trees, and I want to plant more berries, and I want bigger gardens, and I want to really do a lot of permaculture around here. But I don't want to put all this time and money into this place if it's just going to get contaminated by Northern Pass, if our legislature is foolish enough to allow Northern Pass to come through. So I don't know what to do. Wolf doesn't know what to do. We've had this conversation time and time again, not really getting anywhere. Never coming up with a solution or an answer. So that's our story on moving, as I kind of just wandered around the yard and allowed you to see what we have and what Northern Pass will destroy, and the emotions that we have around wanting to stay and wanting to go at the same time, and wanting to leave everything pristine, yet wanting to permaculture this whole property. If anybody out there has experience with this kind of thing, I'd appreciate your comments. You can leave them on my blog, howlinghill.wordpress.com, Twitter @howlinghill, Facebook howlinghill. I mean, basically it's Howling Hill everywhere. And I do appreciate your time. Remember, we like to be anonymous, so maintain that for us, please. We appreciate it. And continue to watch our blog every day to see if we come up with any answers or any changes to our landscape or any changes from corporate greed of PSNH, Hydro-Quebec, Northeast Utilities regarding northern paths. Just thought I'd leave off with some wind and some birds for you to listen to.